What up, Marsh Pod? We are recording this on a Monday morning. We are talking some SWBA finals where we watched last night and it's disappointing. We also have some special guests today. We got Professor Moody's right there. You might see another one jumping around in the background. So, cat edition. But big night for the Boston Celtics, who get a awful Jason Tatum game, an awful three-point shooting game, and they still walk out of town with an 8-point win and a 2-0 advantage as we head to Dallas for Game 3 on Wednesday. The goods. Let's start on the Boston side. Jrue Holiday. I was watching this game last night and thought, man, there is a long runway for this Boston Celtics team. I don't think that the doubts on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are misplaced, because until these moments, they have not proven to us to be capable of the big moments. And frankly, Jason Tatum has not been. 6 of 17 last night, did not play well. I think that, honestly, if I'm the Dallas Mavericks, you look at Boston, you say, this team is loaded with three-point shooters. Jrue Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis, who we'll get to in a second, Al Horford. This team is really good. Peyton Pritchard with a half quarter. Sam Hauser. I would almost not go crazy trying to defend Jason Tatum from three. And I think a big part of why this team lost last night, Dallas, was because they were giving up a ton of second chance opportunities. The exact number last night of offensive rebounds was 10. It felt like all of those offensive rebounds led to back-breaking buckets. I don't think that's not 100% true, but it's what it felt like. And if I'm looking around and I'm looking at these teams, or these guys on this roster, you know who I'm maybe not as afraid of from deep is Jason Tatum. Last 3 years, regular season, 35, 37.6%. He has not been exceptionally good in this postseason from deep. His last 10 games, he's shooting 34% from deep. At home, at TD Garden, he's shooting 36.7% this season. In the postseason, from deep, he's shooting 28.9%. If I'm the Dallas Mavericks, I'm trying to find some way. I am honestly funneling the ball to Jason Tatum and saying, you know what? If he starts hitting threes and we lose the series because of that, I can live with that. He's not been a good three-point shooter. And the constant, relentless sellouts that they had to him, I thought, put them in bad situations. It also opened up open looks for other guys. Some of them they made, some of them they didn't. But if I'm Dallas, Jason Tatum, you have to beat me, because this is the second time in the SWBA finals where Jason Tatum has not shown up. He didn't look good against Golden State. Jaylen Brown was their best player in that moment. He did not look good in the first two games of this series. You're now going to take him on the road. Is he going to be better on the road? I don't think so. And he might. That's the beauty of sports, right? We're going to get things wrong. But if I'm Dallas, I'm saying funnel the ball to Jason Tatum and say from deep, because he downhill threat, he remains physically unmatched. His game, I've said it before, it's not a pretty game. It's not an awe-inspiring game. It's not Luka, where it's just this bevy of dribble moves, a crossover, a fadeaway that's just beautiful. It's not Kyrie Irving, who's just this whirling dervish with the ball. It's a power game with Jason Tatum, and he does it exceptionally well. But if I'm looking at my options and you don't have a lot of them, make him be the guy that beats you from three. Again, I'm not saying don't sell out, but sell out with more restraint. Get to him so he believes there's somebody coming, but don't do the completely pointless, I am just jumping and taking myself completely out of this play type of defense of a three-point shot. For a Steph Curry, you do it. For a Klay Thompson, you do it. For a Jrue Holiday, who's been really good, you do it. For Kyrie, for Luka, you do it. Against Jason Tatum, I'm not doing that. That's the first kind of takeaway from last night. The second takeaway, despite the stat line, I thought Kyrie Irving was awful again. This team is not getting him open, and that's big part of that because of the defense of the Boston Celtics. They need more from Kyrie Irving. And now, look, they were only -3 in Kyrie's minutes. They were -3 with Luke on the floor. They lost by 7. The big story is that this team cannot maintain anything. Those two players played for 42 minutes apiece. The Dallas Mavericks can't even afford that. And I have to imagine, and we'd have to look at the minute-by-minute breakdown, I believe that they were probably those 6 non-Doncic minutes, Kyrie played 41, so 7. I have to believe it was with the other was on the floor. But Derek Lively, minus 15 in 19 minutes. Josh Green, minus 10 in 14 minutes. They actually got pretty good Dante Exum minutes. I wouldn't be shocked if they did that, if they added him in, because they need to find a way to get Luka and Kyrie going off ball. And what they did a nice job of in that second half when Dante Exum was in was trying to do off ball screens for Luka Doncic. They do an off ball screen typically with Luka and Kyrie. Sometimes PJ Washington, who I thought was great. Off ball screen gets Luka Doncic going in motion with the basketball. So then his next move is a downhill attack. It's forcing a switch. He had multiple times where he got Peyton Pritchard onto him. That's an advantage that you have to take advantage of, or a matchup that you have to take advantage of if you're the Dallas Mavericks. So I would expect to see, one, a little bit more Dante Exum. I thought he was really good. He was +4. He was the only player outside of PJ Washington who was +2 in the positive in this game. Get more Dante Exum minutes. See if you can get him rolling. Last thing on Dallas, PJ Washington. He's been really good. I thought he looked confident with the basketball in his hands. He's a spot driver, right? Just like he's a spot-up shooter. He's a spot driver. They need to find ways to continue to do that. And I think they're doing a good job of it. I don't think they're missing out on, there's no meat left on that bone, but they've got to continue to do that here in Game 3 as it ships to Dallas. But what we're also seeing is that from Derrick Jones, from PJ Washington, who combined to go 1 of 8 from deep, they blitzed, they blasted, they destroyed Oklahoma City and Minnesota from deep with those two guys. Those guys are not 40% shooters, and they looked like 40% shooters. PJ Washington in the postseason is shooting 34.7%. His last 10 games, though, 37.7%. He has struggled from deep this season, or this series so far in 2 games. Derrick Jones Jr. on the season, 37.9% from deep in this postseason. Regular season, 34.3%. Those are career numbers, but still, he has not been either of those things because he didn't make another 3. 28.6 in his last 10. They have not gotten these abnormal 3-point shooting nights that they were getting from these two guys in the first 3 rounds, because they obviously beat the Clippers. You need a little bit more, right? Those guys just have to hit shots. In a game that you lose by 8, some of that's kind of put away late. The deciding moment in this game to me was they get the miss, they're down 5, and this should be the defining moment because it's a minute left in the game. Down 5, PJ Washington takes it. He gets trapped by Drew Holiday at the midpoint, at the middle line. You've got to get that ball over. Instead, he pushes it back to Luka. That forces Luka to have to chuck it up. Stolen by Derek White. That leads to a bucket. 3-pointer from Drew Holiday, and that was ball game. They just need to clean up a little bit. On the Boston side, watch this team. This is dangerous, man, because very few teams have the depth of options that the Boston Celtics do. You've got 2 all-star, all-NBA caliber wings. Okay, already you're a dangerous team. But then you throw on the fact that Drew Holiday has signed for multiple years, and he looks fantastic. Derek White, I believe he might be coming up on a contract extension. I don't know, so I won't speak out of turn, but let's assume they bring him back or he's on the roster next year. He's dangerous as a defender. Kristaps Porzingis has been found gold when he's been on the floor. Al Horford continues to chug along. Peyton Pritchard's a good little bench piece give you some sporadic minutes. My point, when you have 5 guys that you can hyper rely on and know you're going to get at least good production out of, if not great production out of, we're in trouble. The league could be in trouble. What could end up derailing this team from being a very long-term contender, because we see this all the time, is once you get that first championship, teams just kind of start to fall in place. Those early career struggles that we saw before tend to wash away because they just say, hey, we can do this. They go out and they do it. The second apron tax is going to be the one thing that could potentially derail this group, but it's borderline unfair, the number of great options that they can turn to and be extremely productive. The fact that you can have 4 guys playing 38 or more minutes and being great in all of them in different facets of the game is dangerous. So what comes next? How do we close this thing out, and what does a closeout look like? Like I said, Dallas, I'd expect to see a little bit more Dante Exum. I thought he was really good. I thought he gave them another option. They need to find a way to not make the ball run through Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. Game 1, they were awful at it. Luka had only 6 assistable plays. He had only 1 assist in Game 1. Game 2, he had 4. This team had 21 assists. Excuse me, he had 11. The team had 21 assists in Game 2. They were much more ball movement, but 11 assists from Luka Doncic, and you still only end up with 21 assists. I'd like to see more activity of it. It was still a lot of drive and activity. We've seen championship teams be unable to be accomplished because of a single-star system. And for the first 3 rounds, the Dallas Mavericks were bucking that trend. Hey, you can't have a guy with super high usage rate be the point of your offense and you win a championship. We thought maybe that was changing. I don't think it is, clearly, because Dallas has not been able to get other guys rolling. They have not been an efficient team in this one whatsoever. So they need to find ways to just lessen that workload. I think some of that comes from a better Kyrie Irving. Again, 7 of 18. Statistically, percentage-wise, that's not bad. I just don't think he was good at all. He ended up with 16 points. That's not good. He has not hit a 3 in this series through 2 games. Find Dante Exum. Find these stars. And start to trim the fat, because Derek Lively was not good. I thought Daniel Gafford was a difference maker for him. For Boston, how do you finish this thing out? You just keep doing what you're doing. And I still think you need a better version of what we've gotten from Jason Tatum. But the fact that you've got all those options we just talked about means you can survive, and Tatum can still be an NBA champion at the end of this thing. Last one, is Kristaps Porzingis going to be healthy? He kind of hobbled around there at the end of this one. If he's not in, he was plus 12 in this game. Biggest plus minus of any player on the game. If he's not healthy, that changes a lot of what Boston can bring to the floor, and I think it's a big positive for Dallas, so it's worth keeping an eye on. Quickish turnaround Wednesday game, and then Game 4 is Friday. That's the only back-to-back, if you will, the only consecutive games that are less than 2 days off between. It's just 1 day off. So very curious to see Kristaps Porzingis going into Game 3, and then subsequently, if he plays in that one, what does he look like that quick of a turnaround for Game 4? If he doesn't play in Game 3, are they just holding him out for that Game 4, which is what I would probably do if he's not going to be anywhere near the impactful player that he was for the first 2 games pretty much. All right, we're coming back to you next week. We'll be on SimWorld today, Tuesday morning. A whole lot of SimWorld prep action there. Appreciate you joining us. We'll talk to you next week.